Wow, what an amazing upset yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine how Italy is feeling today.
Wait, why does Italy care about what Gonzaga or Arizona, why they're not in the tournament? What, Italy?
Yeah. It's not that. It's not that. Italy was knocked out of World Cup qualifying yesterday.
God, I swear sometimes you're doing this just to troll me.
Yep. Lost to North Macedonia 1-0 in the second minute of stoppage time. It was amazing.
Hi, toddlers. Welcome to Talking to Todd. It's a weekly podcast with Dwayne Johnson and Todd Prims, where failure is always an option. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Todd.
Hey, how's it going?
Going better than my brackets. How are you?
I'm doing better than my brackets. Wow. Last night was bad. Bad.
Hey, but we are both doing better than the mascot bracket for now.
However,
for now.
When I checked at the end of the games last night, that is true, except the mascot bracket has a higher total potential. The mascot bracket can still score more points than we can, so it's in better shape of winning than we are.
Than almost anyone else in the bracket, frankly, yes.
Yeah.
Go Boilermakers. So more on that later. We'll get you a recap there. But first, we are joined this week, award-winning author, longtime Talking to Todd contributor, the one, the only toddler -18, Sara Judson Brown, our guest this week on the podcast. Hey, Sarah.
Hi. I don't know why I waved. Hi, podcast land, as I wave.
You know, I sign off on, I wave on goodbye. I think I'm the only one that I see on Zoom meetings. Okay, see you all later.
Bye.
And I'm out on Zoom meetings at work.
Oh, yeah, no. At our place, yeah, everybody does that. Mostly it's like, because when you see the hand, that means there's 2 seconds, and then you're no longer going to see me. I'm going to be very clear about this.
I got it 2:00, guys. I'm out. See you.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. This is the first time, actually. So the last time Sarah was on the Ninja Cow episode?
Yeah. Ninja Cow. Yeah.
We did not have the video technology. So now we can all see each other and hopefully not interrupt each other as we're doing this. So we're excited to introduce Sarah to the new podcast technology.
And it's nice. It's nice to see you guys. And I can judge the glaze in your eyes. If I'm getting too long-winded, I can cut the story short. You know,
don't
boredom
worry,
event horizon. So
Dwayne's a professional at being stone-faced, while somebody on the podcast just drones on and on and on about an uninteresting, unfunny story. So Dwayne's a pro. He won't give in to that.
I've had 107 weeks of practice. I'm good.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Should we jump right into feedback?
Yeah, let's do that.
Anything from Lisa this week?
Nope.
Clean show. Same way on Amy. Clean show. That's how we take it. Sarah, do you have any thoughts about last week? You sent them to me. Do you remember what they are?
No. I sent them to you. Give me a hint, and this will be fun. You can give me a hint as to what I sent you, and then I'll try to remember what feedback I sent.
So
that's a good segment.
By the way, this is a fun game to play when we all get about to this age, which is guess what I said before.
Was it
Give
good
me a hint of what I said. Oh, I love this game. I didn't used to play it, but recently I've been playing it much more often.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I also play the game where I stand in front of my fridge and try to remember what I went to look for. So item number 1 was about the source of all truth and knowledge.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Wikipedia.
Yep. On she appreciated the brainstorming on how to defeat the Wiki Witch.
I don't think it's going to work.
Oh, no.
No, it's not going to work.
None of her ideas
And
work.
she hasn't replied. I sent her an email, or not an email, but a message through Wikipedia, basically thanking her for the links that she sent me that would help me scare
Lo-
quotes. This is not a
Lots of
visual
air
medium.
quotes here,
Yeah,
folks. Yes.
and you know, and I said, well, thanks, you know, but it would have been nice to have this information like the first time you took it down. So she literally said the second time, please stop posting this. So I thought I was skating on thin ice. So I did not try to post it for a third time. But I asked, you know, what is your definition of notable? You know, because well, the work and the author aren't notable. Okay, I'll own that. But she never replied. She never replied to give me any other information.
I'm telling you, that's crap. You won a Toddy.
I did.
You are an award-winning author,
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure you've won other awards too. But that's the one that I know.
I'm just thinking there's probably some sort of weird tautology going on here, though. You're not notable. Why? Because you're not on Wikipedia.
Right?
Well, how do I get on Wikipedia? Well, you have to be
You have to
notable.
be
How do I
notable.
prove that I'm notable? Well, you have to be on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll just take this and go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just drive safe.
I'll see my way out.
It's kind of like when we're all fresh out of college and looking for work. Well, you don't have experience. We can't hire you. Well, how do I get experience? You get a job. Will you hire me? No, you don't have any experience.
I don't know, but I hear the editor police at Wikipedia is hiring, so maybe you should check with them.
Barely. Yeah. No,
Poor kid. We've all dealt with it.
It's just this vicious loop. I think like there were several Star Trek episodes where Captain Kirk talked a robot to death using that same method of, you know, execute your primary function. You made an error, and then the robot explodes. Because anybody following me on that, I'm getting the glazed look in your eyes.
Yeah, no,
Random Star Trek reference.
And all the androids that survived that, the logic loop being shown as completely wrong, the ones that don't shut down go on to the U.S. Senate.
There you go.
All right. What else do we have for feedback?
Todd's French accent was pretty funny. I'd like to request that Todd do more commentary in the French accent.
Ooh,
Todd?
How you say no?
No.
How you say maybe little?
Ambition. That's one of the few phrases in German I still remember from our 3 years of German together in high school.
What was the phrase?
Ambition. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. See, that would be more. I remember un Auto ist grün, which isn't very helpful. Or das ist das Fenster. That is the window. That's the only German I know. So yours a little bit is actually better.
I can also tell you where the library is. It's gleich die Ecke. As long as that library is just around the corner.
You have to go closer to the library and stand just around the corner to be able to use that phrase.
Can you direct me to the library? Hold on. Walk with me. Now. Gleich die Ecke. Followed you for 5 minutes? Yeah, but I can't tell you all of the directions. All I can tell you is gleich die Ecke. Oh, Herr Rudy. You also have 2 suggestions in here for what to watch, and we'll save those for what we're watching segment. Do you remember what those were?
What those are? No, I do remember what those are, but we can save those.
Okay. Todd, anything else hanging out there?
No, I think we can move on to follow up.
Okay, good, because I know we've got stuff in that category.
Yes. Should we talk about the bracket murder pool that we're in?
Well, first, did you get your EPL tickets?
Oh, update.
Yeah.
No.
I was very careful to not have a drink in my hand or in my mouth, knowing that this is the direction that was going to go.
Yeah. However, good news, did get an email 2 days ago letting me know that tickets would be going on sale. Oh, actually, tickets would be going on sale today. However, only for certain members, and my membership doesn't count yet. So Anyway, Monday, maybe. It looks like. I don't know. Although the membership I paid for was supposed to put me to the front of the line, and apparently that was a mere suggestion.
But it did. It put you to the front of a line,
Right.
not
Monday's
the
line,
line.
not Friday's line. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And I resubmitted the form, but I think Simon's still out and he's just not checking the inbox. So I don't know. Anyway, by Monday, maybe. We'll see.
Okay, so murder bracket. Currently in the lead, games currently being played right now, Friday at 7:40 as we record. Mark Jansen in first, Greg High in second, John Brown in third. However, the only people that have national champions still alive, John Brown in third, Mark Felderman with John Brown with Duke in third, Mark Felderman with Houston in eighth, Susan Stokeham in 10th with Kansas, and last, but clearly not least, the mascot bracket in 18th with the Purdue Boilermakers. Go Mascots. Based on where we left off when we were having this discussion, do we want to close the loop on this now?
Sure.
We were going to talk about where what was left in the Final Four.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It was the Final Four was New Mexico State, who are Cowboys, Aggies. They have guns. So there's that. And the Purdue Boilermakers, which I interpreted as a train. You took exception to that, as did Amy, actually.
Yep. But you did 98% of the work. So, I mean, I can take exception, but you filled it out. So
on the other half of the bracket, the UAB Dragons. Dragons
always
win.
strong. Always strong. Yep.
And the Iowa State Cyclones. Again, others felt that a hurricane beats a cyclone. My interpretation, a hurricane is coming. You've got 3 or 4 days to get out of the way of it. You can survive a hurricane better than you can survive the maybe 2 minutes that you get with a cyclone.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get a little pedantic here then. Okay. Again, you made the calls you made. However, using the hurricane v cyclone precedent that was set, I must call attention to the fact that while a train is incredibly powerful, it literally runs on a thing of tracks. And in order to not be run over by a train, you take 2 steps to the left, and it is powerless against you.
Okay, fair point.
And there's timetables of when the train's coming.
Yes, that's fair. So I guess if we were actually going head-to-head cyclone against hurricane, I would have to admit that my pro-cyclone in this lone instance bias did win out.
That's fine. You know what? The bracket's doing better than I am right now, so it's like, who am I to judge?
Clearly, I should have interpreted Harry Potter Spider versus Hawkeye versus Itsy Bitsy Spider versus Hawkeyes, which is where I went.
You should have considered that the Iowa Hawkeyes are actually Hawkeye Pierce.
Oh.
And he wouldn't have hurt anybody.
No.
And then the Spiders would have. Yeah, clearly, you just got to get in the right mindset.
So when it was Dragons versus Cyclones, I went Dragons. I guess, because I felt that the dragon could fly away and outlast the cyclone. But then when I had the dragon head on taking on the train, again, head on, I had train winning. So champions in that bracket were the Purdue Boilermakers. Spoiler alert. In case anybody was wondering.
We had an argument about that offline. This is the kind of arguments that you guys miss out when we edit the show. Because I basically said train, dragon flames, melted train. Or don't have to do the whole train. You just have to do you just have to do a little bit of the rail.
It takes out the train. Yes.
And the train takes care of itself. But it's not the way you went. So Boilermakers, train.
At this point, it does still have potential.
I will say that the argument about what would win in a fight, a hurricane or a cyclone, and a dragon versus a train, is just as useful as almost all of the discussions around who's going to win the next game in the bracket. Sure, whatever. Point guard, center, dragon. It's all the same.
Because 12 people pick Gonzaga. 12 out of 18, including me. Yeah.
And
I
me.
just pick Gonzaga. John teases me about that all the time. Why do you always pick Gonzaga? Because it's fun to say. Gonzaga.
Eventually, they got to
They
win
lost.
one of these things.
Right?
I
Sooner
don't
or
play
later.
for money.
So we will see where that goes. I cannot bring myself to root for Duke. Probably too much sports content here for some of our audience, but that's where we are. Update on the bracket. More to come next week. We will let you know.
So we're still in follow-up, aren't we? Oh,
we
you
are.
have the next one as well.
This is I just don't want to forget about it. But there's going to be follow-up later in the show in what I learned this week.
Oh, okay. Yep,
related to crumble cookies.
Ooh, stay tuned.
So yes, calories are not the only thing that are annoying about crumble cookies. Spoiler alert.
And I had one other piece of follow-up. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about the going to pick up the groceries and having to hit the spots on the phone and put in spot 2. If you're in spot 2, now hit number 1. If you're not in spot 2, hit number 2. What? Okay. I've also found some other UI problems, and this gets back to kind of like because I spend a bunch of time at work on video calls. This has caught me out multiple times. Our video platform, well, all of them, but one of our video platforms of choice is WebEx, and here's something cool WebEx does. So at the end of it, if you hit end, like end or drop call or whatever, like you want to end it, a thing pops up and it says from left to right, the button says cancel, end meeting for all, or leave meeting. Okay, cool. Well, if I'm leading the meeting and we're done, I go to hit end call for all. However, if it's just me, if everybody else has dropped before I hit that button, end call for all goes away and the cancel button slides over. So when you go to hit it, it then says cancel, and then I'm still sitting in the call. And then I've got to go back down to the bottom, and I got to hit end, and then hit the other button. Just like literally end call and cancel. Son of a... what? Why are you moving my button on me? What? Why? Anyway, it's not the worst thing. It's not like reconnect everybody against their will. I mean, that would be worse. But... anyway, UI, it's hard. It's very difficult. So.
See, the thing about WebEx that annoys me is when you're starting the meeting.
Yeah.
And it's gathering the chairs and
I hate that.
Setting up the, oh my God.
Whoever coded that in, that when they can't make a connection and their program or network is failing, has decided to be cute. I want to find somebody and I want to hurt them. That little, we're going to be cute. I don't want my tech to be cute.
Nope.
And whatever cycles you're wasting on telling me that you're gathering chairs, stop it and go fix the problem. Anyway, strong feelings about that.
Do not tell me you're setting up the whiteboard. I don't know. Grinds my gears. Thanks, Dan. Oh, main topics? Anything else? Anything else that we needed to clean up? Correction. Oh, hold on. This is a perfect segue because we have an absolute correction. Sarah, you want to tell everybody what I screwed up?
Okay. So it was the reference to What Cheer, Iowa. In last week's episode, you said that the reference was in book 1. Sorry, I almost messed it up. It was actually in book 2. Actually. So.
Actually.
I need my glasses for that. We'll do the visual. So, like, actually, it was actually book 2. For the reference to what she...
and the voice.
Actually.
It
was book 2.
Yeah.
Book 2.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's not a big deal.
But we've now talked about it on 2 different podcasts. Does that make it notable?
I don't know, because the Wiki Witch has yet to send me any kind of definition of what the notable definition is they're using for the policy.
Hey, Doug and
I said
Dan.
which? Why are you making that face?
No, hey, Doug and Dan, can you guys talk about this on your show, and then we get it on at least on 2 podcasts? Like at some point, we're gonna get this thing notable. Like I don't know how many it's gonna take, but like maybe we just keep a chain going. So there we go.
So speaking of book 2, Splice, Paragalacticon book 2, Splice. Tell us what's up with Anya and John in book 2.
Well,
What should we expect?
Well, it's it kind of starts off actually you hear more about from her brother Sean Chapman, Montrester Sean Chapman. So we start there and you learn more about him and Daria and it actually starts with a sword theft from the museum. But John and Anaya are involved because they help the investigation for that. So but they go off, they're part of all that. I don't know how much to say without giving too much away.
No, I
So,
think this is fantastic because you pronounce it Anaya, and reading the book, as I'm reading it and reading it in my head, I pronounce it Anya the
okay.
entire time.
Well, I pronounce it Anaya, but I mean,
See,
I
there
know
you
what
go.
you mean because, like, when I was reading Harry Potter, and it wasn't until I saw the movies that I thought it was Hermione. In my head, I was Hermione. Hermione. What? Hermione. That's a weird name. Hermione. Oh, that's pretty, actually.
Can
So,
we consult Todd's English to English
I was gonna
dictionary
say
here?
it looks like Hermione, but it's actually pronounced Norwich, which is weird. I don't.
ah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
fair.
the Hermione part is silent.
Silent.
So
Yes,
that's
that's silent. That's
yeah.
silent. So yeah, yeah.
It's a subtlety of British that
British
most people don't pick up.
English.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
god. No.
So you were calling Anaya Anya.
I
So
was.
that's not that that's not that far off, Anaya.
I got I kind of, well, to some extent, I have the emphasis on the wrong syllable,
That's okay.
but and then there's murders. So
There are
it
murders. There are murders. So that was fun. I mean, it does get a little graphic at times. My mom read my book, and I was a little concerned because when she said, "Oh, I ordered your book and I'm going to read it," and then I was like, "Oh, chapter 12." Ooh. I can't remember what chapter. Do you remember? Have you read the entire book, Dwayne?
I have not gotten all the way through book 2. No.
Okay, because there's the scene where Sean Chapman goes to the tent scene. Okay,
No.
I will just leave that there. When you get to that, you'll know.
Hell no. Okay.
And that was the scene that I'm like, oh, my mom's reading that chapter. Oh, okay. But she finished it the other day and she said she really liked it, which is good. She no, she said she liked it. She did have one question for me. She's like, "Well, I saw this word and I wasn't sure what it was and I was worried it was a typo." And of course, you say typo to a writer and you're
Ooh.
like and I'm like, "What page and what was the typo?" And then, "Oh, okay, no, that actually wasn't a typo. That was intentional." So, it was just a word she wasn't familiar with. She thought I might have spelled it weird or something. I don't know.
No, that's just me
Well,
using the highfalutin words.
Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, okay, so quick story. Stealth typos. I call them stealth typos, and those are the typos that you can have 10 people look at the same thing and they won't see the glaring typo until you hit submit or send or print. And then all of a sudden you see it. Well, I was working for a corporate communications company, and luckily it was an internal document to organize all the content and but the client saw it, and the client had no sense of humor because the typo was, I call it the dreaded public versus pubic typo.
that'll
And
get you.
the actual phrase was it was for like employee training, and the phrase was, "Do not share private personal information in pubic areas."
I mean,
It
not wrong, not wrong.
wrong,
No.
wrong. So spell check is not idiot check, because if you use the wrong word but spell it correctly, no, it's totally fine. Carry on. Pubic, that's fine. So,
Fun side story to the side story. My second senior year of college, I was the executive editor for our college newspaper, and I made that exact error in either my column or the editorial that I wrote that nobody caught, that we published 9,000 copies. But luckily, the good news is when you put the word pubic in a college newspaper, college students really they don't mention it. It's not really that funny to them, and you don't hear about it a lot. So, all told, that's really the place for it to happen. So, yeah,
yeah.
did that too.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one. But to this day, that was I don't know how many years ago, and to this day, if I know I've used the word public at any point during, something I'm writing, I will intentionally search for the word pubic and then correct as needed. Just because the client had no sense of humor whatsoever. They were actually quite angry at me, and they were mad. I got in trouble because they thought I did it intentionally, and it's like, really? Why would I do that intentionally? Yeah, so typo. You hear the word typo and you're like, what? So,
So I was going to ask you, I know there is a bit of a story with the book cover for book 2 versus the book cover for book 1. What's that process like, and how did you tell me about the book cover for book 2, and how did it come
oh,
about?
okay. Well, I do hire a graphic design person to do the book cover because I have absolutely no skills in that area. It's like success depends on knowing what your gifts are and knowing what they aren't. So I hired somebody to do that because you want. How many times have you stopped in a bookstore and picked up a book simply because the cover looked interesting? So you need a good cover, right? So I hired somebody to do that, and I worked with them. It was a recommendation from somebody else, and I love the cover for book 1. Great, yay. And then so book 2 comes along, and I knew I wanted to publish like the end of 21 or early 22. So I reached out to my book designer earlier in the year and just said, hey, I'm not ready for it yet, but I wanted to let you know that I do have book 2 coming along. I had heard a rumor that he might stop doing book covers, but I thought as a current client, maybe he would keep me on. And he replied, was like, and this was over the summer, like, oh yeah, that's great. Sounds good. Just contact me when you're ready. And then like 3 or 4 months later, when I contacted him, he's like, yes, I'm ready. He goes, yeah, about that. I'm not doing covers anymore. And so there was this, okay. So, but I was able to get a recommendation for another designer. And my first designer, Oliver, was really awesome. And he's like, I'm more than happy. Here are all the files that I used here, to make sure that
Hmm,
fonts and things match up. He was not stingy. He did not hold that material hostage. And he
nice.
gave that all to me. And he even said, when you find he couldn't recommend anybody, but he said, when you do find a new designer, and if they have questions, have them reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions. But I was able to hand that all over. Worked with my new designer, Seneca, and I thought she did a really great job. And I was really happy with how the cover turned out. And I wanted, I wanted the cover. I wanted a character on the front cover, and that's really hard to pick because you're dealing with stock photo images, and you gotta, you're kind of looking for a character, but you're not gonna find the character that's in your head. It's like looking for a house. If you find a house that you're 70 to 80% happy with, you should buy that house because you're not going to get 100% what you're looking for. So but we went through a few possibilities, and we came across that image, and it's supposed to be Sean Chapman on the cover because he's carrying the sword, and he has a sword. So because why not? So yeah. So, and I've gotten a lot of comments about the the character on the cover. A lot of people think he's kind of hot, and I guess I do agree. And that doesn't hurt for book sales,
Heck
you know?
no.
right? So yeah, so that's a story there. But there was about 3 or 4 days where I was like little bit of maybe a small spiral of depression, because it's like, what am I gonna do? I can't. You have to have a cover, and you want it to like be consistent or have some kind of tie into the first book. I mean, you don't want to have to start completely over. So, but it worked out.
So two things. One, when you told me that you ran into a hiccup, in my head, what I was really concerned that I thought we were going to hear is when you reached out and said, I'm ready to do my cover, that he would have said, I only work with notable authors. And I was really
Thank
concerned. That's when
heavens.
that,
Woo,
no, he just retired.
dodged the bullet.
But second of all,
because
I'm
we've
just gonna-
already established that. So.
yeah, right. Yeah, I looked you up on Wikipedia, and I don't know who the hell you are. Anyway,
If you're not on Wikipedia, you're not anybody, I guess.
exactly. The second one is if this happens again, right? If you all of a sudden you're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do about a book cover, I'm just gonna throw this out. We've asked crazier things of the toddlers, and they've delivered. You've delivered multiple times.
That's the thing.
So if you're like, look, I need a book cover in 4 days, and this is kind of what it's got to look like, just let us know, and we'll let the toddlers go at it, and I'm sure we'll get something.
You have a very deep bench of talent for a lot of an assortment of skills. So I should have.
See, there you go. Because here's the thing: I wouldn't have known that we have the stuff the stuff we've asked, we have no business asking, and then stuff just rolls in because we're like, I don't know if anybody can do this. Oh man, that's pretty good. That's better than I thought, right?
Yeah.
So who knows? Like, oh yeah. By the way, I listened to Talking to Todd, and I happen to do book covers on the side. Here you go.
Well, there you go. And seriously, if it was like a little bit of a panic when I found out that Oliver was hanging it up, and because it was like, now what am I going to do? This is sometimes it's like, when you're an indie author and you're trying to do this, it's all on you, yay! And then when a monkey wrench gets thrown at you, it's discouraging. And so if it happens again, not quick, somebody knock on wood, I will definitely come to the toddler bench and see who you got out there who could maybe step up for me.
And by the way, to be really clear, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the digital file. I'm going to use the exact same cover with the exact same picture. I'm just going to change the title and go, here you go.
There you go. Yeah.
It worked the first time. Should work the second time. I hear he's hot, so I might as well keep him.
So there you go. Show art. Is that a title? I hear he's hot.
Because we ain't talking about either of us. The problem with our show art is we don't have a hot guy on our show art.
You don't have a hot guy on your show art with a sword.
We don't. Because we will this week.
Because we have to clarify this. I mean, the ladies listening to the program know what I'm talking about. He's not just a hot guy. He's a hot guy with a sword. So, I mean, levels of hotness. The ladies know what I'm talking about. So
keep it clean, toddlers.
Okay, nobody can see this if you're listening, but they both have their heads in their hands at one point.
LL Cool Sword. Ladies love a cool sword.
No, ladies love swordplay. Maybe we need to cut that. That was actually a line out of my book, but I'm just saying.
Ladies love swordplay. This is awesome. Thanks for coming on. Thanks. This is great. Thanks for coming on, catching us up. The 2022 Book of the Year for Talking to Todd, Splice. Pick it up at your local indie bookstore and on Amazon.
It's
maybe
through Amazon, and occasionally they have put my links out on Barnes and Noble, but they don't have a link on it at Barnes and Noble right now. So it's just paperback and ebook on Amazon. And you can catch up with the characters from Siren's Cove and see what they're doing next. Like I said, The Stolen Sword, Murders, and Time Jumping. So there's my plug.
Good times. We have. Do we have any idiots?
I got a few idiots, unfortunately, because I don't live in blissful idiot free land. This one's a good one. It turns out if you've got money in any crypto stuff, like crypto stuff gets hacked like every day. Like Millions of dollars of crypto just gets hacked. There was a crypto hack. Yeah. It turns out there's some downsides to having a completely, hidden off the shelf system.
Really, you don't hear about any of that in the news. All you hear about is how awesome it is. Thanks, Elon.
Yeah. You got to see my news. So one of the ones, this is great though. I think it's Solana, which had some crypto, was hooked to Ethereum. None of that matters, but basically somebody managed to steal like $320 million of crypto. And here's how it happened. And by the way, this is telling you how bad, like seriously, if you're thinking about putting money in crypto, this is what the crypto land looks like. They managed to steal the crypto because Solana that had it, here's how their system worked. You have to provide a password that they check, and it has to come from what they call a guardian, or just think about that as a known good account. So just think about this as a known good username and a known good password. And here's how they tested it. If you have a known good username and a known good password, you're good because they match. If they don't match, they don't let you transfer it because they don't match. However, if you have a bad username and a bad password, they both fail, which means both sides of the equation fails, which is they match. And they transferred $320 million because they didn't have the username or the password. Here's your money. Crypto, it's the future of money.
I just can't. Seriously.
Yeah, somebody in QA didn't do their job on that one. By the way, I have a whole folder of just every week there are multiple insane crypto stories that I don't bring here because of this. Like
the toddlers thank you for that.
Seriously, that would be like going into your bank and saying and producing a photo ID and then saying that your name and birth date is wrong, and they go wrong name, wrong birth date, and the photos don't match. Here's your money. Anyway, let's go on.
Do you have an account number? 1. Close enough.
Sure. Here, take all of it.
Oh, Lord. Are you watching anything? Sarah, are you watching anything this week?
I need to pick a new show because I finished watching Lost in Space on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have watched that. That is excellent.
Yeah.
Really liked it. It kind of got me a little verklempt at the end there with like, oh, no spoilers, but the sad part. And then it was happy. But I thought that was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. And I thought it was, I'm not so old as I remember the original show when it was the early run of Lost in Space. But I remember watching it like in the afternoons when they had it on rerun.
Mm-hmm.
And is definitely they did a nice job. So I like that. And then I've only watched the first episode, but I was intrigued enough. It's a new show on Netflix called Is It Cake? Did you look at this?
They've been promoting that a lot to us, but I haven't clicked on it because, as we found out, anytime you have a headline that says "Is it cake?" The answer is no.
Yeah,
and then you move on.
It's one of these goofy, obviously low budget Netflix things, and I don't know that I'm going to watch another episode, but I was intrigued enough to at least watch the first one. But it's essentially a game show for bakers who seem to have their one niche skill is being really, 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 really good at baking cakes that look like everyday objects. And so they will compete. Like they had, and they made. I like I said, I've only seen the one episode, but they had a game where they had the 5-7 bakers, and they had on pedestals examples of fast food, like a burger and like milkshakes and a breakfast sandwich, and then they had literally 30 seconds to put into their pads, their response pads, which one of these is a cake? Which one is it? You have 30 seconds, go. Is it, and then they all, push a button quick. And then the guy pulls out, and the host, I don't know his name, he pulls out these ridiculous, like, first it's a knife, and then it's a machete. One thing, he even drew a sword, and he's cutting through
Nice.
is it you picked number 3. Let's see. Hoo-yah! Oh, it was a croissant sandwich. It actually was a sandwich, not cake. So, but they actually had,
Oh,
3
that was a
people.
real Fabergé egg.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh.
sorry. But then the winners, if they picked the one thing that was cake, and not the Fabergé egg, talk about the liability on that. But anyway, then the next part of the contest is they then have to create, a cake that looks like, in this case, the fast food. So one person picked tacos, another person picked a burger, another person did the breakfast sandwich. And, then they brought in celebrity judges, and then they had to go through the same thing. Is it cake? And, I saw chop, with the sword and all that. And it was silly and ridiculous and really campy, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll catch on. I might watch one more episode to see if, where it goes. But you can't deny the skill of the bakers, but talk about a niche specialty. But they all have their own little bake shops, and people go to them to make these crazy outlandish cakes, and they're actually pretty good at it. So I guess and one of the guys, and I didn't catch where he was from, but one of the bakers that is competing on this show is from Iowa. You can't miss him. He's got a green hair and a green beard and glasses on, and he said he was from Iowa. But they didn't do a little biography segment on him. So that's all I know about him. So is it cake? Check it out.
By the way, Dwayne,
Yes.
real-time follow-up. The
Yes.
mascot bracket has taken a massive hit.
Oh, Purdue lose?
Purdue lost to a 15 seed.
Oh, no.
Nobody's winning brackets. Nobody. St. Peter's, first 15 seed to reach the Elite Eight. Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Live on, holy cow. Good for them.
Yeah.
Bad for the train.
So speaking of niche,
Yes. To be fair, one of the reasons the train did so well was because of how much time you've spent watching train videos. We couldn't not have a train win our bracket here. So anyway,
good point.
please.
Good point.
Yes, go ahead.
I mean, it's interesting that it took you this long to justify that that way, but okay. Speaking of Netflix and
It's
niche
never
competitions, we have been watching on Netflix We Are the Champions, which actually came out in 2020. It follows, as it says, explore an array of unique competitions from the quirky to the bizarre and meet their passionate communities in this docuseries. Episode 1, an annual competition in England called cheese rolling, where people chase a block of cheese or a wheel of cheese rolling down a hill.
We've watched a couple episodes of this. It's insane.
I will tell you this. If you like sports, forget the rest of them. You watch the cheese rolling one. Oh my goodness. These people are committed.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like, at one point, there's a drone shot, and Lisa goes, it doesn't look that tall. And then you see it from a different angle, and she's like, I would, what are they doing? Like, it is steep. There's also, the next episode is on chili eating, competitive chili eating, fantasy hairstyling. The last one we watched last night was on the World Championships of yo-yo. There's also, we haven't watched yet, dog dancing and frog jumping. Fairly entertaining. What I will tell you is this: if you're expecting me to sit here and talk about, can you believe these people compete in these really weird, obscure things like cheese rolling and yo-yo? I got scholarship money in college doing competition. It's also just as insane. So I'm in no position to make fun of anybody. You find your tribe and you enjoy that. So anyway, there you go. We Are the Champions on Netflix. Dwayne, what about you? What are you watching?
Since we've started only talking about things after we're finished with them. I finally finished Monk.
Again?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we watched Monk when it was on, but we didn't watch every episode. So in the 8-season run that I just finished rewatching, I guess, there were episodes that I had never seen, which was kind of fun. It was the guest stars that they got. I know I've said this on this podcast before, but the guest stars that they got were fantastic. What a great show, and tied it all up. Little montage at the end. If you want some feel good murder mystery, Adrian Monk is the man. So it's on Prime, and there's that. We also, I may go back and watch Drive to Survive season 4 again, because I am not finished with that yet. It was so good. We're going to talk about this. I swear we're going to talk about this here at some point. It's awesome. I loved Drive to Survive. We watched, and actually, the other thing that we're watching, we watched The Race
Oh,
on
okay.
Sunday.
Yes.
And it was nuts.
Yes.
And Amy is cheering for Hamilton. I'm like, seriously. So cheering for the Yankees. It's awful. Did we learn anything this week? Anyone? Did anyone learn anything? Sarah's eyes go this way and she shrugs her shoulders. Meh. Sorry.
I mean, it's not that. Todd should tell his thing, because I don't think my thing is that exciting. What did you learn, Todd?
You know what? We both. You know what? These are both IT challenges. So why don't you go first? Because we both suffered IT challenges, and I think it's a theme here, so we can tie those together. How about you? Yeah, you go first.
Okay. So I work in it's a small city hall in Foley. We've established that. I don't think I've given away any trade secrets yet. It's a small office, so you're called upon to do all kinds of things at any time. I mean, I do typical administrative stuff, but I've also been known to plunge a toilet as needed, and it was kind of like one of those other duties as assigned is a very big category, right? Every job has that disclaimer or whatever. Other duties as assigned. And we are going to be opening bids for our wastewater project. I know this is riveting content for your podcast. And we want to have a live stream when we do this. Now, we have AV equipment in the council room with a mounted camera, and had spent some money to get it all set up, but we had not actually done a live stream. We have a City of Foley YouTube channel. That was me. And so we're going to live stream off of that. And my boss says, she says she had mentioned it before that she wanted to live stream this bid opening. And she goes, how are we going to do that? And I go, I don't know. I said, we could call our vendor, and I call them the man buns, because every technician they send has a man bun. So it's like man bun 1, man bun 2, man bun 3. But it's like, well, we don't really have time to call a man bun. And I was like, oh, do you want me to try to figure it out? Yeah, that would be great. Okay. So I go, and they have different cables set up, and I'm looking, I feel like such an idiot, because what I can do with technology is like, you can put it on the head of a pin of what I know. And so I'm looking at the laptop, and I know I can run it through the laptop. And I know there's something that looks like a switcher of some kind where, okay, so now I'm looking at the ends of the cables, and I'm going, well, that one looks like that fits. Okay, stick that in. Look at that. I think that fits on the other side. Yep. Okay, now that goes into the laptop. Now we're ready. Now what? So, but I did go out to our YouTube channel, and thankfully YouTube has a button that says live. And so we clicked on that, and there was some setup with that. But we did a test, and there was video of me. I have since deleted it on the YouTube channel with me in the conference room. Yes, standing in front of the laptop, because the one thing I wasn't able to figure out how to do was the fancy schmancy camera that we spent big bucks on that's mounted in the back of the room. I couldn't figure out how to run it through to get that picture. So I took the laptop on the podium and turned it around you know, and I'm there. You see me doing this, and and then I go back to the microphone. Hello, hello, and my boss is in the other room. And she's the one viewer that we had, and it's like, oh, it works, yay, okay, close that out. It had it on our YouTube channel for a little bit, and I went in, and the first thing I learned how to do was then delete it and get it off our YouTube channel, so it's not there anymore. But I say I earned my my man bun certificate by figuring that out. But I also learned I don't want to be an IT professional where I have to figure that out all the time, because that was the extent of my knowledge.
Rule number one on the internet: once it's on the internet,
It's
never
always, I know.
officially off the internet. Todd,
Well, I was going
do
to say
your
two
thing.
things. Well, no. Number one, the difference between that and being an IT professional is it's an IT professional does the exact same thing, just looks confident doing it.
Not like
Just plug it in, like you just plug it in, and hit go. And if you didn't get it right, you just go, huh, system must need updating.
yeah.
So that's really it's just confidence. Number two, what I would suggest if anybody out there is stuck like that and you're trying to go live on video and you don't have time to call the vendor, basically find like anywhere from like a 12 to 14-year-old who goes, anybody know Twitch? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I run a Twitch channel where I have 1.5 million viewers watching me game. Yeah. Do you not have OBS hooked up to your switcher? Oh well, man, this is pretty okay. We can figure this out. But I was doing this when I was 12 or when I was 8. So yeah. There you go.
We needed like a 12-year-old, and we probably would have had it up a lot faster than we did. And we still can't get it to run through the fancy camera, but that we'll have to call in the man bun for that, I guess. But it'll work. It'll work for Wednesday. So if you want to tune into the City of Foley YouTube channel on Wednesday at 1:00, you can see all the action.
Here's the scary thing: Dwayne Wood, if DraftKings had some odds on it, I'll put $2 on that.
Pays $3.90. Todd, what tech disaster did you have?
So, last week, my sister and her family were flying back from an island in the Caribbean, and I got a text message saying our plane is really late leaving the island, and they're going through Atlanta. And do we need to check? Do we have to get our luggage and recheck in Atlanta? And I said, hold on. And I just checked to make sure that in this island, you don't clear U.S. customs on the island, and you don't. So I explained, yes, when you get there, you're going to have to get your luggage and check it in. And she's like, oh, we don't have much time to do that. And like, this sounds like it's going to take a while. So I explained the process. You land, you can get in line, you can go to a kiosk, you're going to do the immigration, then you get your luggage, then you go through past a guy, and then it's not the main stuff. It's this international stuff. And so I kind of explained that all to her. She's like, okay. She's like, I don't know if we're going to have time. I'm like, okay, hold on. This is the part where then I just open up web browser after web browser and I start pulling up. Okay, so I got flight radar pulled up now, and I'm taking a look at her incoming flight, and I'm looking at the Atlanta airport, and I'm like, okay, what time is she going to be there? Okay, they're going to land at this time. Okay, where's her inbound flight coming from? Okay, that's going to be here. International. All right, so I'm going to go look up because thunderstorms went through there, so everything's screwed up. Okay, so what other international flights are going to be there when she's there? I'm like, okay, listen, when you land, you need to go quickly because there's a flight coming in from London when you arrive, and 10 minutes later, a flight from Paris. You got to get in front of them. Did a whole bunch of stuff, which she said was kind of helpful because in the gate, there was lots of people coming back from the Caribbean and a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing. And so there was lots of misinformation going around. And so I was at least telling her, here's what's going to happen. While I'm doing all of this, I'm like, oh, I should also go to the FAA site that shows airport delays across the country. And there's a nice map that the FAA has that you can go major airports, and it has little dots, and they're green, yellow, or red. And if you hover over them, it will tell you if it's yellow or red, why, delays, and everything else. And I never remember what the URL is, so I just go to Google it. So I just Google, and I'm like, FAA airport delay map. Click on the top link that's not an ad. And suddenly I'm looking, and more than half of the major airports in the United States are red. And it's like 60-minute ground stop in Miami, equipment failure. 60-minute ground stop in LAX, equipment failure. There are 7 or 8 airports that are at a complete ground stop because of equipment failure. There is bird strike, plane stop due to bird strike. Like, okay, that's weird. And then there was like a couple that due to security issues, and I'm like, what the heck? So I flip over to a news site and I'm like, airports. I'm like, nothing. I go back and I'm like, I mean, at this point, more than half of the air traffic system in the entire United States is down. Like, what the? And then I just look at the URL up above, just the URL. Nothing like I'm looking at the site. No, I look at the URL, and the URL says testfly.faa.gov. And I think, that looks weird. Why would it say test fly? So I just remove the word test and go to fly.faa.gov. Everything's fine. So, 2 things. 1, the FAA has a site where they get to try out all of the really, really, really bad things that will stop air traffic control. And on that site, they do not put test or anything on the entire site. It is only in the URL. There's no watermark, there's nothing. 2, somehow it got into the Google results, and so many people clicked on it, it was a higher ranked result than the actual site, which meant a whole lot of people were very concerned. Should I even go to the airport? I hear they got bird strikes. So anyway, IT's hard and testing is important, but it's kind of important not to turn the test site over to the entire country.
No, your story reminds me. Did you ever play Sim City?
Occasionally,
Okay,
yeah.
so like you have what I used to like to do is I would have this beautiful city and then I would just hit it with every disaster I could so the whole thing was on fire and then I wouldn't resave it. So it would it would revert back to the pristine condition of this gorgeous huge city and then I could just when I was having a bad day I could just hit it again with So you had like the Sim City version of everything that could possibly go wrong for the airline traffic. Somebody was having a lot of fun that day, maybe.
So as for me, my friend Zach, I previewed that I was going to talk about crumble cookies. We've talked about crumble cookies here before and how many calories are in a serving or in a single cookie, and there are a lot.
A cookie is equivalent in calories to large sandwiches from McDonald's.
So we've got one of these up in Ankeny, and my friend Zach ordered at 10 o'clock in the morning, pre-ordered cookies for him to take to the class that he teaches at night. Shows up at 3:45, asks 3 different employees for help, none of whom are helpful. Eventually, after waiting 45 minutes, talks to the assistant manager who refuses to refund his money, says, "I'm sorry, we're busy." He says, "I ordered 5 hours ago. I've been waiting 45 minutes. And she says, "Well, you can wait for your cookies, or today can be the first day of your diet."
Ooh.
And I will tell you, and Zach will tell you, Zach does not look like me. Zach is a big guy,
That's terrible to say to a customer. That really is.
right? It's terrible to say to a customer regardless.
Right.
And he and then and not and then and so he didn't get his refund and he didn't get his cookies.
It's terrible.
Then another assistant manager called him back. The assistant general manager complained about him not being very patient and said that's about average to have to wait 45 minutes. And She can't comment about or apologize about a rude comment that was made because she wasn't there and didn't hear it. So, still no refund. Status report. Still no refund. Still no apology. Day 2, the owner calls him and says, well, sometimes my employees mimic my sarcasm. Still no apology. Still no refund.
Yeah, that's awful.
I will never set foot in this Crumble Cookies. I may never set foot in another Crumble Cookies period ever again in my life, but I will absolutely never step foot in the Crumble Cookies in Ankeny, Iowa, because I learned how rude and awful they are.
I saw your post about that, and I even commented. It's like I used to write like video training scripts like back in the day, and I would have to write the wrong way, right way. Obviously, that's a wrong way to treat your customer. But if I was still writing those scripts, that is something that I would take verbatim, and I would write a dramatic for that. It writes itself. I mean, if a monkey could type up that script, but that it's inexcusable. There's no excuse for that. Absolutely no excuse. And then the zinger at the end, oh, this is the first day you can start your diet. I mean, wow.
That does feel like you want to say, when you guys watched your training tapes, did y'all hit pause after the first and then said, what can we learn from that? Good meeting. The bad way, good way. We just covered the bad way. And there's a lot of people because apparently we got people waiting 5 hours for cookies. So that's all the time we have for training. Go out there and make someone cry.
I mean, even the SpongeBob episode had a joke corporate training video for Krusty Krab employees that it talked about customer service and how to treat your customers. And just watching that one SpongeBob episode where it did that probably would have given them better customer service training than Crumble Cookie. Obviously, it's stunning, absolutely stunning. So I hope it blows up on them and they get everything that's coming to them.
Yeah, me too.
It could. I just realized now it could have been worse. It could have been so much worse because if Dwayne was in charge of the snarky responses, the person, instead of saying it could be the first day of your diet, right? He guys have been like, I've been waiting 5 hours. I don't 45 minutes. I don't even have a refund. And Dwayne would have said, well, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
The music is Happy Boy by Kevin MacLeod. You can subscribe to Talking to Todd wherever you get your pods. Just search Talking and the number 2. No G, no space. You can tweet us on Facebook. Pretty sure that's how that works. You can check out our award-winning
pronunciation.
You can check out our award-winning pronunciations on Zazzle. You can leave us a voicemail at 515 also CPA. Remember, it is tax season, so the lines may be busy. 515-257-6272. You can stop by and see us at the Tuba City Home Office. Please don't do that. Thanks to our listeners, our sponsors, and our special guest this week, Toddler Negative 18. We really appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. And good to see you guys.
You can send us your feedback to feedback@talkingtotodd.com. Todd?
Based on our previous discussion, I'm pretty sure what your friend should have done when presented with that problem. Admittedly, you have to plan ahead of time. But after all that goes down, what he needed to do was pull out a sword. Because either A, it was clearly an intimidating factor, and somebody's going to deliver some cookies. Or B, everybody's going to go, oh, I do like some sword play. Do you want my cookies?
Stop back next week. More sword play right here on Talking to Todd.
Okay, I kid you not. 10 minutes to go in the show, Lisa texts me, "Dinner's here," because it got delivered, which is why the dogs were barking. And I went, "Oh, great. What did we get?" She told me, and she goes, "So got some stuff." And she goes, "Oh, and cookies." And there's a 50% chance there's some crumble cookies waiting for me as soon as we wrap this up. Boy.